I'm a huge advocate on the mentorship side. And I start with my kids, my two boys. I'm one of those guys, I'm one of those fathers that I set down and I'll, have long talks just one on one. So I don't embarrass them in front of other people. I do it like professionally. The only man in your life that ever want you to outdo him is, their kids. And it couldn't be more true, like I would, compete and fight to the death to outbeat any man, but I hope my kids both outdo what I've done.
You're listening to the Hot Wash by Born Primitive Tactical. I'm Bruno Fallon. I've spent my 4-decade career in some of the most elite units in the United States Special Operations community, where I learned that elite operators aren't made overnight. They're forged through hardship, discipline, and relentless drive. In each episode, I sit down with the most accomplished and innovative leaders in special operations, industry, coaching, and athletes of all disciplines. Let's jump right in. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hot Wash by Born Primitive Tactical. Still Bruno, haven't changed, just got a little bit older. Got a great guest with me here, Dean Goble, recently retired Special Forces, just had his party, still feeling a little bit rough.
A little bit.
Welcome, Dean.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. So Dean, I've known Dean for a while. He does a lot of great things with the Special Forces Foundation, and his current position as he transitions is he is the Director of Philanthropy for Black Rifle Coffee Company, which is one of our close business partners. So for people that are going like, what the hell title is Director of Philanthropy? Why don't you explain that, brother?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just a really fancy way of saying I oversee our corporate giving campaign, and I have the privilege of kind of leading a lot of our mission focused efforts for Black Rifle Coffee Company. So whether that's responding to a natural disaster to help the community, to supporting a nonprofit to give them money and resources to do what they do better, I get to oversee those campaigns. Black Rifle.
That's awesome. And I can only imagine with the scope of your company, how much that encompasses, because that's one thing that it filters through my desk is anything to do with philanthropy, whether it's a foundation, nonprofit, an event, it all comes through me because truthfully, you only have so much you can give as a business. So you got to select. And I actually spend quite a bit of time at making sure that who we give money to are the right people and the right cause. And we have the same ethos as brands, but the biggest thing to me is military, law enforcement, first responders go to the front of the line. And then what I try and do is focus on things that are taking care of the actual person. There's a lot of foundations out there that deal with, widows, kids, spouses, and all that. We're really trying to attack taking care of the individuals because we know, I mean, just from our careers, we know how little the VA does for us and everything. And once it's amazing, man, you're going to see once you leave active duty and you go to the curb, it's all of a sudden like, hey, dude, this is what you got.
Yeah. Even starting with my TSA pre-check that I recently found out that I lost.
It's gone.
Yeah, I'm like
military doesn't tell you that.
20 years of trust, and you guys are just going to throw me away like that. So I don't know. I guess I got to go pay the $50 fee to get my check bar. My
that
check
is
back.
So fucking funny because I found that out when I came here, left federal service, and I went to go on a trip, and they're like, "You're not TSA pre-check." I'm like, "I've been TSA pre-check my whole life." They're like, not no more.
Not anymore.
The day you give up that government ID card, it goes away. You're not in the trust tree anymore.
Exactly.
Dude. So yeah, I've said this many times, somebody needs to write a no shit book on retiring. Like that stuff and the other 900 things you're going to find out that why didn't somebody tell me this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they do I feel like, since I can't remember when you retired, but I know they've come a long ways because like some of my seniors I had back, it was pretty much like a crisp high five and a, best of luck on your next career move. Today, they have a lot more resources.
There's no doubt.
And so it's definitely getting better, but there are always going to be those surprises like the things like the TSA pre-check, which is honestly kind of the least of my concern. I'm trying to get the VA process, all that cleared, but
yeah, dude, that's something you got to get done. It's changed a lot. You just met one of our team guys that's here on a skill bridge that we're actually going to hire once his skill bridge is done. None of that existed when I retired. Matter of fact, I was the high five guy. I literally remember doing a major exercise. Did a deployment, did a major exercise, and 2 weeks later was out processing. There was no I mean, my
Yeah.
shit was not together, and you're on the street and you're like, wow, that's how 30 years ends. But,
Like,
and now I think it's gotta be more deliberate, especially not to take away anything from anybody that's served, but the life in the special operations community, the deployment cycle, the op tempo. What I don't think a lot of people realize is you're never home. Like even when you're not deployed, the mandatory environmental and infill and proficiency trips that you have to do to stay, honed in are it's insane.
yeah, well, I mean, I remember the 6 months on, 6 months off day, those years that we had. And, and it sounds not too bad because 6 months deployed and then 6 months back home, before we fully encompassed the red, amber, green cycle where it was an 18-month cycle. But even then, if you had a school, if that's a month and a half, 2 months, and then the workup to go on the deployment,
Oh yeah, you
you
got
know, you're, before you know it, you're gone again. And it's just, especially if you take on some of the long schools. Like I had a few schools that were 5 months long. They're like a couple weeks short of a PCS move. And you literally just go to that school and then come back and back out.
time to go. No, I was literally in one of those long schools when 9/11 hit, and like had been gone for 4 months already, and then just rolled out the
Yep.
door, and that's how that was. So hey, let's talk about something fun.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the November Veterans Day campaign that Black Rifle and Born Primitive are doing together. I mean, this is pretty amazing. I don't know if our audience knows about it, but last year, Born Primitive alone, what we did was we went and through Bear, who did all the homework on this, we went and we bought distressed veterans medical debt. And what that means is distressed debt is that these people are getting ready to lose everything, get foreclosed on and all that. And you would be amazed at the amount that's out there. And over Veterans Day, we basically took every single thing we made and we bought debt with that. And as a company, we did $11 million. Um,
And I believe initially the goal was like five,
it was
right?
five.
You
It was
know,
five. And we looked at each other about 30 hours into it and we're like, holy shit, this is on fire. And what we did is instead of, there's a couple things you could do. Hey, we hit our five and we're building our coffer now. Or, hey, this thing's going, let's throw some heat on it. We actually upped the marketing and advertising on it and we over doubled it. I mean, we hit 11 million and we were blown away at the response everybody had. And then we're getting ready to release some testimonies this year, but, you know, Marine, $320,000 in debt that cannot pay it, losing their home, losing their life, and that check comes in. I mean, wow, right?
yeah,
So,
I was one of the fanboys, just stalking Born Primitive social media a year ago, watching the whole campaign. And, I would be remiss if I didn't say I didn't tear up a little bit because I believe it was like Bear did like a cold call and said, "Hey man, I'm going to take care of this." And I was just like, and then ever since then, and then moving into Black Rifle, I was just like, "Hey, they're on to something here. How can we get involved to take this level if it made sense?"
it
And I'm
does make
glad to see
sense.
that it really came together because, like you said earlier, our ethos, I mean, they're pretty much overlapped
Oh my God, yeah.
identically. So to me, it's like, being extremely biased, I was just looking at it, I was like, I see nothing but greatness. So I figured it was at least worth the conversations. And I'm glad that like Bear and Evan and Matt all got together and kind of said, hey, like, how can we help?
Yeah, and I think it will. I think that, the one thing I'll say, there's a bunch of great things to say about Black Rifle, but the one thing I'll absolutely say is you guys are marketing geniuses. Every time Matt Best goes out and does a new ad or commercial, I'm like, I can't wait to see this shit. But I think with the brand ethoses and the brand powers with us combined together, and when they turn Matt, Evan, and Bear loose to kind of go do the podcast news circuit and everything, we're coming out with an advertised goal of 25 million. So just think about it. Last year, our goal was 5 million. We did 11. Our advertised goal is 25 million. 25 million in distressed debt to veterans that will be erased. And here's the crazy part. Bear pulled the numbers from the VA, and I'm close on this, but I want to say there was about $370 million in veterans debt, medical debt that's out there. and then somewhere about 140 or 150 million of it is distressed, which means these people are, you know, last chance and all that. So if we can come in and take a swing at the people that, you know, are in the 90, 120, 180 day window of getting foreclosed and write a lot of big checks to a lot of people, I think it's going to be amazing.
Could not agree more. I mean, yeah, I mean, you know this of me, but I'm a very dangerously optimistic, and so I'm actually hoping that we exceed it.
I
You know, but that's just
I'm,
me.
I'm a knock on some wood here
Yeah.
because I think we have the capability, because I think the brand alignment and the fact that when people see the two brands working together with the faces of the brands, with the marketing strategies, and if they understand that this is, yeah, these are the brands behind it, but the money is going to the veterans.
Yeah,
That's the cool part.
every
And
single
over Veterans Day, right?
Yeah, yep.
And so it's going to be pretty cool. We're excited about that. By the time this airs, our VIP boxes should be going out, so you'll start to see some VIPs out there promoting the campaign and all that. We will get this aired before Veterans Day, just so people can hear it and everything. But we're very excited about it, and I can tell you, I will throw a shout out. One of the companies that has the exact same ethos as our two brands that really helped quite a bit, Montana Knife Company. They came in with both a hatchet and a knife to be in the VIP boxes. And the purpose of the VIP boxes is we're sending a Pelican case with a mix of brand items from the two brands and Montana Knife to these VIPs to open it up and really promote the cause.
That's Josh, right?
Yeah, Josh Smith. I mean, yeah, Montana Knife. I remember the call with Josh, and I'm one of those guys that can probably never run a non-prof. I'll come in and I'll ask to land helicopters in your city. I'll come in and ask to drink your whiskey, but I have a hard time coming in and asking for money.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had to make that call to Josh, I'm like, hey, are you willing to support this? I need 100 of your hatchets and 100 of your knives. And I hadn't even finished what the cause was about. And he's like, I'm in.
Yeah.
So, which, you know, great American, same ethos. And we're so happy he did that. The cool thing about it too is the 100 hatchets and the 100 knives are all off cycle right now. These 100 hatchets that are going out, you won't be able to find them again until sometime next year. And the way Montana Knife is, they'll sell out in 3 minutes.
Oh yeah.
So
what was the one you posted not too long ago? I saw it was like
9 minutes.
Yeah,
9 minutes.
Yeah, I literally didn't even make it home, and I was like, of course.
Yeah,
you know, so.
yeah. It's a cult following with them. I mean, I love the blades.
Well, that's the beauty of it, is it's not like some gimmick. They're actually legit blades.
They're legit
they're
blades.
Very good.
Yeah.
And so, like, even if you're not into the brand or anything, you just want an amazing, knife.
Well, that dude's
You're at the right place.
And that dude's story is so
I
like
know.
19-year-old master bladesmith.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. And when you hear the test they had to go through and all that, so pretty cool stuff. But no, I think that's going to be fun, and I think there's some opportunity in the future for the two brands to do some great stuff together. I'm glad you're in the position you are, because you know one of those things that Bear and I are big on is give back. As we grow this brand, there's give back involved, and it's one of the things I tell, especially the tactical customer. Like, I am not building apparel for the retail customer. I'm building apparel for the military special operator, the SWAT unit, the police officer, the first responder, the fireman. I'm building apparel for these people, and the spinoff is we're building such good apparel for these people that everybody wants it, whether they're a paintballer or this, that, the other. But it's a total give back to those folks. It's like, let's do something that doesn't exist, and let's invest in human performance. So it's been kind of fun, man.
Yeah, I love watching it from afar, especially seeing where it's come, because I mean, I've only known you. I mean, it's been a few years now.
Yeah.
And just from very humble beginnings of, I remember you talking like, hey, I want everything made in America. That is a huge step for
and
me.
We are so moving there.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
So just watching from you, just having simple concepts of this is where I'm taking this tactical line to where it is now, it's been nice to watch.
It's interesting. I mean, the story is pretty funny. I was recruited by Bear and Tony and these guys, and I kind of laughed at them. I'm like, I did not know I was coming here for an informal interview. Max brought me in. I thought I was just meeting these guys. You know, they made really cool sports equipment apparel at the time. And I was like, yeah, fuck, I'll meet them. He's a former team guy. They're local. I love the pants. I mean, I love the shorts and stuff. And all of a sudden I realized this is a pitch. They're trying to hire me. And I'm like, I'm not leaving my job. I got the greatest job
What'd you do
out
before?
there. Huh?
What'd you do before?
I was running the urban training program out there for the guys at Dam Neck.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So when I retired, I stayed on there and basically was in the ops directorate for a while. And then I was running the urban training program. And to be honest with you, when I say running it, I mean, I obviously had a core of very, very handpicked elite operators that were running it. What I was doing was I was the guy, I was the pitch man. I would go into the city, meet with the mayor, governor, chief of police, get the invite. And then I was the guy with the strategy, the logistics and all that to understand this is a good target. Yes, I can land a helicopter here. Yes, I can go explosive here. And put the whole framework together. And then I'd bring the team in and my team would be like, well, this is how we're physically going to prosecute this building. And they would set it all up. And I would just make sure that we kept the news out and the sirens off, if you know what I mean. But
yeah, I did something similar on the SA side of the house.
yeah, it was a lot of work. It was very rewarding. Compared to selling apparel, much more difficult, walking into the city of Chicago in a very liberal climate and asking a mayor and a chief of police to land black helicopters in the middle of the night in their city with guys carrying guns. It was not an easy sell.
I bet.
But I'd always get that yes. So I knew if I could sell that, I could sell apparel.
Yeah. I mean, it's just funny where you land because, like, if you would have told me I'd be working for a coffee company, I'd have been like, like I love coffee like everybody else, but the idea of working for a coffee company, I would be like, yeah, I guess. But trying to learn all the aspects behind that has been.
But it's bigger than a coffee company.
100%.
It's way bigger than a coffee company. And I'll argue with you, it's coffee and a t-shirt company.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny you say that because I have so many people mention our apparel everywhere we go.
Oh, yeah,
like, I love your hats or your t-shirts. We got like every time I wear I should have wore it today, my tactical cock t-shirt. Everybody always just like, hey, where'd you get that?
I love the one with the fucking Sasquatch with the nods.
Yeah.
I mean,
the tactical squash.
Yeah, tac squatch.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, it's the one thing that I realized quickly, and this is the reason I took the position, is if you come in and are able to stay true to your values and promote the brand the way you want, you can be successful. And what we're doing is, instead of me having the Sears catalog look, I've got 8 operators jumping it in Normandy on D-Day at the anniversary. I've got, guys doing just some of the coolest stuff out there in our apparel. And it's just keeping the ethos going. And it's kind of fun because I have ATF coming tomorrow to get our firearms license because of how much shooting we do here. And it's one of those that we're not just selling apparel. We're making apparel to support a lifestyle and a mission, if that makes sense. But
it absolutely does. And we're so similar at Black Rifle. I mean, if I'm being frank, I wouldn't work there if it was. The reason why it was so appealing to me to work at Black Rifle is because and when I say that, it's literally built in everything. The marketing, branding, everything is always has the asterisk next to it is how is this supporting the communities we support? First responders, veterans, and active. And if it doesn't, then we don't do it.
And you pass.
Yeah, we're like, well, we're good. Like even if it's more beneficial for us as a business, we will still pass and pick the option that's still better for the community. No, because we're so passionate about it. And we are the community. I mean, you go into now, granted, these days I feel like we're really getting outnumbered by Marines. There's a lot of Marines walking around last night. But they're all amazing humans. But it's kind of like walking your hallways here. You just kind of, it's like your team room.
It is,
and it just, to me, I think it, selfishly, it made my transition from the military to civilian life a lot easier because I'm surrounded by a lot of like-minded people. I mean, I kind of feel at home. I'm like in a team room. We can say our dark humor jokes, and you ain't got to worry about some weird stuff going on. We temp it a little bit, but not quite team room, but pretty close.
Right.
But man, it's just been amazing to see an organization that is so passionate on, hey, how do we give back?
I love it, man.
And we're like, and like an example is like something that, not to pat myself on the back, but something that I really wanted to get at was like, hey, how do we get involved in the communities that are affected by natural disaster? And so as soon as I came on, I was in the Skill Bridge program. As soon as I came on, they were just like, hey, there was Hurricane Helene that happened in Western North Carolina. And I was like, well, let's get out there and support. And to watch the business come together to support that initiative, me being an FNG, they didn't know who I was.
Right.
They just, but to watch an organization, a company that isn't a disaster relief organization, but being able to coordinate and put things together, the best support was just amazing to see it all come together. All even down like, big props to our people out in our Manchester roasting facility right there in Coffee County, Tennessee. They were just like, yeah, when do you get here? And when I got there, they already had pallets. They're just like, this is everything that we're going to push out to you and everything. And I literally, this was happening so fast. I just went and rented the biggest U-Haul I could find. And then we just packed it to the max.
Hell yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, well, I got, 16-hour drive to make it. It wasn't supposed to be 16 hours, but so many roads were gone. I found myself taking a 40-foot U-Haul in places it probably shouldn't have been.
Right.
I'm like, this is going to get real scary, but we made it happen. And it was so, and then just to see the impact on the communities. At the time, I was honestly a little bit worried because, while we had propane and blankets and everything else we could find to donate, the mass majority of it was coffee, and fresh water. And I was just like, well, heck, man, if I show up to some of these people and I'm just like, hey, I brought you coffee.
They're going to be like,
yeah, or they're going to be like, look, man, I don't even have a house, and I didn't want to do something that would come off as being kind of ignorant to it or a dick. And it was the polar opposite. I had people losing their minds. They're just like, you realize how much supplies we've received and we're grateful for all of it. But the one thing nobody has showed up with, coffee.
hell yeah.
And like, I'm talking like we were flying away on helicopters. People were like screaming. I had people call, just the phones were off the hook. Hey, can you make it out here? We had to contract a helicopter because some of the places we couldn't get to
right?
So we started airdropping, coffee in places. Yeah. So, it became a full blown tactical operation that it just started to it was supposed to be just Dean driving around, as a UPS man. And then before you know it, here I am like, well, hey, we haven't heard from this old family that's out in the middle of nowhere that got hurt, or got hit by the rains. And so I was just like, well, just drop me off and I'll walk it in. And then I did. And I'd go knock on their door and
how the hell did you get here?
Yeah. They'd be like, how did you get here? And I'd be like, well, that doesn't matter, but are you okay? And they're like, yeah, we stocked up and had fresh supplies and everything. So I'm like, well, okay, cool. Well, here's an emergency number if you need it and anything, and give them a little care package and stuff. But it was just, to see the community. And quite frankly, I kind of fell in love with Western North Carolina. I was like, man, I could live out here.
Dude, so you realize though, here's the magic. And this is something Bear and I talk about. Your whole leadership, yourself included, are former special operators. The thinking out of the box thing. Mm-hmm. If you'd have sent even a trained FEMA person would not have had the adaptability that you have with your background from special forces to get in there and be like, this shit's not that bad to us, right? We have lived in some real shitholes, and gone a long time without any food, without showers.
Well, I got asked that question. They're just like, well, where are you staying? I was like, oh, well, on the ground. I got my backpack and my sleep
wherever I park.
Pretty much. I was like, once I unload some of this stuff from the U-Haul, I'll probably
get in the back.
I'll probably sleep there, with my little puss pad and everything. And and not once again, it kind of surprised me. People were asking me that question because I was like, that was like the least of my concern. I'm like, I'll sleep.
But they don't get it, man. They don't get it. And they also, I'm sure, appreciate the fact that, you weren't there with 800 media cameras flashing the black, you were there delivering.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the cool thing I love is that behind the scenes it's happening. It wasn't a, you know, it was a let's go help thing. And of course there's some stuff that comes out of it. But man, at the end of the day, it's like, let's just go do this.
Yeah, it was just one of those just and then like, most recently in Kerrville, and that one hit home because, we had our employees that lived in that area. So we did the same exact thing. We once again, what I get the honor of overseeing is I built a really great relationship with Operation Barbecue Relief, OBR, with Stan Hayes and his crew over there. And it's been amazing to watch because they have the know-how, the expertise, the people, and I'm just like, hey, what can I give you to help you do what you do better? Because
That's
I'm a
awesome.
false multiplier guy.
Oh yeah.
So me, I'm always better through people. So I believe in partnerships, collaboration. If it's for the greater good, we'll figure it out. But like having good partners like them that we'll continue to support. And and I'm working with Jeremy now over at Aerial Recovery. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys, but they bring the tactical element to disaster relief effort that I was kind of missing in the portfolio. So I was like bringing them in. I mean, they just got a crew of pipe hitters that just were literally like, "Hey, we'll assist with search and rescue. We'll do route clearance." Kind of the manual labor
The
stuff.
the stuff that we're used to having overseas that
Yep.
you don't think you'll need, but in a natural disaster, you fucking need it.
100%. So
Yeah.
I watched them in action in Western North Carolina, and then they went down to Florida, and I was just like, "Hey, how do I help you?"
Awesome.
So that's all I do now is I literally try to find great partners through both a for-profit and nonprofit standpoint. And say, hey, how can I help you? And it's as simple as that.
It is simple as that, especially if you vet the ethos.
Mhm.
If you realize that these people are actually here for the same mission and have the same background, it's automatic. You just got to make sure you do that because you will get those that don't fit in that mold. But I'll tell you, we in Western North Carolina, it was one of those where we were like, "What can we do?" type thing. And 107 Foundation reached out to me, and they're like, "Hey, you know what the number one request is for here?" I'm like, "Water? What?" They're like, "No, they're all don't have homes, and it's actually getting cold at night. Can you send jackets?"
Mhm.
And I don't know how many fucking jackets we sent, but I mean, it was
Yeah.
pallets and pallets. And I just remember going to Tony, our president, and being like, "Hey, dude, I want to launch the fleet on jackets." And he's like, "What's the mechanism?" I'm like, "We're sending them to 107 Foundation. They're going to distribute them." He's like, "Execute."
Yep.
And that's kind of what our piece of it was there too. We were not in a position to really do what you did. Now that I hear that, it opens up my optic a little bit too on
Yeah. Well, in the future, because unfortunately, there will be
oh,
other
yeah.
natural disasters. And if you guys ever want to I guarantee you we'll be out there in
Yep.
force. We got I call them coffee balls, like speed balls.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I got those already pre-built, that get refurbished every month. But as much as we can as a coffee company.
Yeah, and that's actually a great point because I got to tell you right now, I mean, I even think about overseas and some of the fucking shittiest outstations. I started every day with a cup of coffee.
Exactly.
So,
Well, once again, and I got this, I got this sweet video that who was it? It was Kagan Dunlap. He was out there, and he is one of those influencer dudes who takes pictures and everything, which is awesome. But he captured one of the times we were leaving, like out in the middle of nowhere, and he had and then you just see this guy come out there with the coffee like in the air and stuff, and it was pretty
That's
amazing.
pretty cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
he
fun.
so it was a great thing. How could you not love? I mean, everything that I love about America, I could feel during that entire period of like people coming together with good cause and like help thy neighbor, etc.
And if you think too, man, like I live here in Virginia Beach. You look at the devastation done that far inland from a hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
And here I live on the beach and we've never had anything like that. I mean, I'm sure when they're sitting there thinking about all the natural disasters that could come through there, whether it's a tornado, an earthquake, it was not a hurricane.
Yeah, 100%.
That is nothing is built for that.
I think
there.
that's what made it so devastating
was.
is because Florida got hit too, but Florida, they're used to it. So
Yeah.
they have all the precautions and the government allocation of spending to be able to help it all. I mean, like who in Western North Carolina is being like, well, how do we prepare
Prepare for this
for a
hurricane
hurricane?
season.
You know, like
No, never happens. Hey, this is Bruno, and you've been watching the Hot Wash by Born Primitive Tactical. Please don't forget to like and subscribe our podcast. And thanks for watching. Now back to the podcast. So let me ask you, Meg, I'm gonna shift topics here.
yeah.
I'm just curious. Recently retired. Are you ready? Did you get to a point where you're like, it's time, or did time get to you?
I thought it was time. You know, it just full disclosure for me getting, you know, if I took the next position and was promoted, it add about another 6 years to my ad. So um no hate, because I think people need to do those positions. It's amazing that want to grow into these staff positions and then, you know, work at the command levels. I've just always personally been more of a tactical on the ground operator kind of guy. And I just knew that the people would probably suffer if I was in that position, because I wouldn't much as I probably would have. I was just like, hey, you know, and I was like, if I could stay on the teams, I'll stick around. But it just wasn't for me, you know,
Right.
and that's no hate on the military, but you know how it is. Like you have to progress or you're gone,
That's right.
you know, and rightfully so in many ways. But I was just like, I just didn't want to, you know, my heart wasn't there. You know, I wanted to do something else. You know, I've always been an advocate and trying to convince other Green Berets is, you know, I just didn't want to be defined as only being a Green Beret in my military service, you know. And once again, no hate for me, but I just, when I'm older, I don't want my only thing that I can bring up as my service. You know, I wanted to do more with my life than
Right.
just that. And I figured being 40, a good transition, because I, you know, I read it on a bumper sticker once, you know, everything before 40 is just research. So I was just like, so I felt like, you know, I'm at a good pivotal point. You know, my boys are, you know, my oldest just graduated high school. My youngest is 16. So he's right around, you know, graduating here in the next couple of years. So, you know, I wanted to be able to spend a little more time with them because once they're gone, you know, once your kids move out, you time you get to spend with them is significantly
No, I
reduced. So
totally get that. We just, you know, Blake Cook, our
yeah.
lead ambassador, and one of many reasons that he just made the move that he made to come to us and work remote part time is to spend more time with his boy,
Mhm.
which I appreciate. I missed all that, the war and everything. I just was a junkie for it and just got sucked into it. And all of a sudden, boom, my kids were grown up and out of the house, and it takes you years to get that back. It does. I'll tell you, I mean, for me anyhow, uh, it's everything you're saying is kind of crazy. I'm just on a 20-year later timeline. I literally, after 40 years of government service, I mean, so when I was done with the government was 57 years old.
Mm.
And people are like, fuck, time to retire. I mean, I'm only 2.5 years into Born Primitive here, and I got so much fucking gas in the tank for what we're doing right now. But I think age is just a number. I do think that. But I will tell you, it is a huge transition leaving that team. Um, there are there are fucking guys that I could call up today and I'd be like, I just need this person off the earth, and they would do it for me. Or I need to have a drink, or I need to do a workout, and they would do it. It's very rare in the private sector. The true, I mean, no, I'm fucking there no matter what. But I tell you, if you find a company like here at Born Primitive, you know, like where you're at Black Rifle, it still exists.
It does.
And it's crazy because I have multiple team guys working for me. The owner's a team guy. You know, I got SWAT guys and stuff like that. I've got firefighters in here. Uh, Fuck ton of military spouses from special operators in this company. And you still have that feeling here. And I think that's, if you are going to transition from backgrounds like ours, I will say don't chase the buck, chase the environment and the location. To me,
Yeah.
that's the answer.
Without a doubt. And I tell everybody, you know, I was like, hey, I'll miss the clowns, but not the circus.
Right?
You know, so, I mean, because I really do. And even like, you know, over the weekend, I had my retirement party. And just to show you, like my teammates from my very first ODA showed up that I haven't seen in a few
Dude, that is
years.
so awesome.
You know, so it just, you know, it's just a brotherhood there that I mean, it's with you till life, and some of them are closer than others, but like my boy Frank the Tank Cole, he just flew all the way in from North Carolina to come out and see me, and it's just one of those things. And he's like that too, my buddy Bryson down in Florida now, who's running his own gym and stuff. We're working on the slogan and stuff, but it's bodies by Preddy from stacking bodies to building bodies. Since he's just a freak, and
Yeah.
I was like, so that's awesome because what I try to do, no hate, but I think a lot of the operators who get out, they have this preconception that they have to become like a general contractor or do what they've already done for the last few years, in which that is completely fine and fair if that's what you're passionate about. But I always tell people if you think that like that's it, if you want to still be a part of the brotherhood, then you're mistaken. There are amazing organizations out there that are on the civilian side that sell apparel that have team room equivalents that you may not understand everything behind marketing and sales and the commercial aspects or any of that stuff because you haven't done it in your entire career, but you'll pick it up and they'll want you for your leadership and your decisiveness and adaptability to make things happen. Well, yeah, I've just seen so many of them that came in and just, and humbly, I'm one of them. I'm like, yeah, like, I talk to the marketing team, they'll run circles around. But I have certain instances where I can come in and help drive results because I'm just somebody who just gets things done. That helps me complement their team. They have the expertise. I just come in with the right attitude to help adjust and help be a part of the team and bring it together as much as I can.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how much of the expertise you actually have. The example I'll give you, we do some extremely high end content here. One of the things I find is that we're having a lot of our peer brands, and I'm talking firearms, ammunition, night vision goggles, helmets, parachutes, coming to us going, "Hey, will you do content with us?" And I'm like, "We're not a content company. I'm an apparel company. And when we're going out to do apparel, we're going to do this stuff. And obviously, I just have the clothes, I need everything else. But that's not what we do for a living. And there are companies that do that. And they send me video clips from some of these very, very professional, very well known media companies. And they're like, "We like your look better." And then I look at it and I realize, yeah, they're making mistakes. Some of these guys are trying to, in fact, one of them tried to reproduce something we did. And it was kind of funny because it came out about 9 months after we did it, and it was almost the same location. But every single fucking tier one guy was like, "Man, that's Bobo as fuck," because they were doing a helicopter vehicle interdiction. And they land the helicopter right in front of the target vehicle off the nose. And there ain't ever been a VI done by anybody for real that does that. You
Yeah.
fucking
Authenticity is a
you
big
know?
thing, especially in our community.
Yeah, so it's one of those where everybody picked it apart, and I
Mhm.
was like, "Man, they don't even realize what they just did. They just
Mhm.
exposed themselves." And so I think that our expertise plays in more than you think
That's fair.
because we have those little, "Hey, wait a minute, that's not right. Hey, fix that on this guy." It's funny. I'll jump into social media. I finally handed the social media off to Blake Cook. We work with a lot of really good people, and they tag us on stuff and want us to collab us on stuff. And I have to tell them straight up. Well, there's a couple things. Number one, we don't do politics, religion, or anything as a brand. We stay in the middle on it, but we do the Second Amendment. We do America. We do the flag. We do pro military, but we don't want to get our customer being biased in us. So don't send us that. But the biggest one is don't send us stuff that is not authentic. Don't send us stuff that is staged that when operators look at it, they're like, "That's fucked up." So when I handed that to Blake, he's like, "What's my number one charter?" I'm like, "Don't put anything on Instagram that you wouldn't be proud to be in." He's like, "Got
Yeah.
it."
Good.
You
Yeah.
know what I
Well,
mean?
you're in good hands too, because
So,
man, he's such good
oh yeah,
people
that's
too.
what he does though.
Yeah, and
But
he loves that stuff. He's
yeah.
always on there. And
Dude, so the funny story, social media. So the last organization I was at, they used to do a scrub of you, once a year or whatever, and they would fucking Google your name and look at everything, and they'd come in and give you a report. Be like, "Hey, we found you on this, this, and this." I went 40 fucking years without having a digital signature. Now I'm on Instagram. I'm on a podcast. I have my own personal Instagram. I'm in freaking Facebook ads. I'm in commercials. I'm like, 2 years, what happened? But I'm still holding to my roots of, like we talked about before this podcast, I'm not telling war porn on here. That's, I'm talking human performance, mindset, culture. What can you do after retirement? Gear, equipment. The stuff we did on Target, that's for our campfire. That's for us. That is not for, that's for other podcasts that want to expose people. And then it seems like every single dude that goes on those becomes PNG'd. And
Yeah.
they always, because they're on the microphone, start embellishing the fuck out of their story.
Yeah.
So just don't go there, man. That's my word to you.
No, yeah, you don't have to. That's that's why I asked, politely when I first, was like, hey, being on this podcast, because and I got the same war stories as everybody else. And if I'm being honest, I'm nothing to write home about. It's, I didn't take down an entire camp by myself or anything like that. I was just one of the guys who made sure we all tried to come back home.
Yeah,
So,
man. But that's what it needs to be. The fucking.
But now what I really focus on is the next steps, like the whole, it to encompass it is the finding purpose thing. So I, still being true to, the people that I, love and supported throughout the years, I take it very personally when I get, somebody just hits me with a text and says, hey man, I have no idea what life, or they're drinking too much or whatever. And that's the reason why I was so involved, and was honored to lead the Special Forces Foundation, is because it gave me that ability to really affect people's lives in a positive way that I wouldn't have been, because now I had a whole team behind me.
Right.
So, and it was, then we were able to fundraise, make money, because, money talks, there's a lot you can do without money, but somebody comes in with $100 grand and says, I'm going to change all this, it can push it pretty far. So ever since then, it's just been really my passion, and selfishly, it helps me find purpose in life. I've noticed that the more that, and I was one of those young guys I was kind of a little bit, all about myself there. For how do I get to the next school? How do I outperform the next person? I was very, maybe a little egotistical at times. I was very competitive, so I didn't like being beat on anything. But what I did is I kind of shut everything else out because I was so competitive on being the best at everything I was. And then, I guess maybe just old age caught up with me a little bit, but I was just like, hey, I'm going to, you know, focus my life on helping others. And, and what I noticed and what really blew my mind is that helped me more than ever. Kind of came full circle.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say on that, very much the same way. I want to say that everything I ever did in my entire career is I did not want to be in second place. Um, the No Fear Company used to have a T-shirt that said "Second place is the first loser."
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'll never forget that, right?
Yeah.
But it's one of those. You have to make that transition now, and here's the silverback. 40 years old, 20 years, special forces experience. The number one thing you can do right now is become a mentor. I'll tell you that my whole team out here at Born Primitive, there's not a single thing I do. It's not like the military where I'm like, I need you to do this, execute, and walk away. I explain to them why we're doing it. I teach them what the end state is supposed to be, how to get there, and then tell them if you need help, come back and see me. And it's mentoring them and molding them and making them leaders. And I think that with your experience, which is more than you know right now, wait till you really get out there in the public sector. Your 20 years of what you've seen in special forces and overseas. I'm sorry you don't get that in college in an office building. So the biggest thing I tell people is the skill that we bring is leadership. And if you have the mindset to transition it to mentorship, you will make some really good people around you. That's my number one thing right now is not telling people to do something, tell them how to do it and why, and coaching them on that. And it could be something from fitness and human performance related, or it could be why we're building a pant a certain way. Instead of, no, it's my way or the highway. It's, hey, fucking, this is the thought. Um, Mentorship is something that I saw lacking towards the end in the military by me. I saw a lot of people striving for the next step, and a huge, because of the war, I would say around '05, '06, we had this mass exodus of guys anywhere from 20 to 35 years of service because they were four years into the war. Everything they've ever wanted had happened. They were starting to get a little beat down by the rotations, wanted family time, tired of losing brothers, and this mass exodus happened. And all of a sudden, you had a much younger group move up in all the units and taking over. And I just thought that the job was achieved. They did the mission, but I think the failure is the mentorship kind of went away. And what I noticed is once we started getting away from the super high op tempo and started looking at like global contingency operations, everybody tried to cookie cutter what we did in Iraq and Afghanistan and apply it to that mission instead of no, fuck no, fresh start. Let's build this target package from the ground up because we're smart and we're going to dominate. And that was a part of mentorship, I think. So
I couldn't agree more. I'm a huge advocate on the mentorship side. And I start with my kids, my two boys. I'm one of those guys, I'm one of those fathers that I set down and I'll, have long talks, just one-on-one. So I don't embarrass them in front of other people. I do it like professionally. But I've always wanted to, what's that saying? There's a good saying out there. Nobody wants you to, the only man in your life that ever want you to outdo him is, their kids or
their kid. Yeah.
I'm probably messing that up, but to that degree, and it couldn't be more true, like I would, compete and fight to the death to outbeat any man, but I hope my kids both outdo what I've done tenfold. And so I take that mentorship really seriously with them. I'm always setting them down, but even now, and you're absolutely right. I've always tried to find ways to, you know, because I'm a huge advocate of higher attitude train skill. If I have somebody with the right attitude that's coachable, I mean, you can just take that person to a whole nother. And to be reflective, I need to be the same way too, because there's always somebody that I can learn from. And it doesn't matter if it's the new guy on the ODA that we've had so many times, because they're the younger crew that what I found that were coming in were very creative that I wasn't. I was more a TTP guy, step one, step two, step three. This is how we do it. This has worked for 100 years. This is exactly how it's supposed to be done. And they're like, cool, now there's a UAV or UAS system coming in. I'm like, well, that's not in
the book.
But he would be like, hey, sir, but this is a cool way to kind of do this. And I'm like, well, shit, it's not. Well, one, we didn't have any other way. But two, it was just kind of cool to see their creativity behind it. But yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir. I am such a huge fan, and I owe so much to the mentors that I had, and still do today. I have this list on my phone like everybody else does that I kind of secretly call in the background and be like, hey man, what
do you think about this?
Yeah, because there's usually somebody that has done it before.
Yeah.
Like I know, like if I come across a problem set, I could probably call you on the phone. You may be like, yeah, in 2019, there I was. This is what was happening. And, and it may not be all inclusive because everything's different slightly.
But you take a piece.
But yeah, exactly. But you just take that piece and, have that soundboard of somebody that you can call and just, just a quick sanity check. Am I crazy here? Or am I on point?
No, you're spot on, man. We just went through this with, we had a situation where we had to pull away from some people we were working with. And I was giving the person a second chance in life, that they were P&G'd from the community and a lot of people hated him and all that, and gave him a second chance, and it didn't work out. And one of my greatest mentors called me up and he's like, didn't tell me I told you so, because this was somebody said, don't do business with this person. Never used the I told you so. Just told me, hey, Bruno, I told you, zebra doesn't change its stripe.
Yeah.
And it hit home. It fucking hit home. And I was like, yep, man, you of all people said, be wary. I let my guard down and, and you learn. And then you take that notch just like you do from overseas. And you're like, that ain't fucking happening again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And on that point too, I would, I always encourage people to get out there and network. kind of the way that we met and everything. And I see too many operators that just, sometimes it's a little bit ego, sometimes it's just, unknowing, but, they're kind of just sitting there thinking people are going to come to them, especially when they transition out. And I'm like, no, man, just like any other thing, you have to get out there.
Yeah.
There's conferences and symposiums and, read the books, whatever your jam is, but get after it, because you're going to find mentors who are like you and others that you're going to find that are just going to be like, hey, and the beauty of it is most of them are completely selfless about it.
Yep.
A lot of the great mentors I met post transition out of the military or as I was transitioning out, they never asked for anything in return. They just wanted me to be successful.
Agreed.
And what did I do? I just ran into them at SHOT Show. And they're like, oh, you're out of 10th group. That's cool. I retired out of 3rd about a decade ago. You ever need anything? Here's my card. And I would call them and I would say, hey, I'm not sure about what to do to this. And they would be like, yeah, this is what worked for me and everything. And it's just amazing to see that come together, because they didn't owe me anything. It was just a brotherhood of just people who want to see other people succeed. And the funny thing is I see a lot of the same reoccurring faces. You can really see the power players, and not that I'm one of them, but everywhere in all these conferences I go to and on like the mission and philanthropic efforts, I see a lot of the same key players that are, the movers that are in the background.
Movers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't have fancy Instagram accounts or followers or anything like that, but I know who they are.
Yep.
And I love that, because when I have an issue and I'm trying to really help somebody, I can just kind of get on the horn and make a few phone calls, and there's usually somebody that says, hey, I got it.
Yeah. There's two things you said there that I want to, and I'm hoping guys that are listening to this are, guys that are posturing for retirement. Number one, for operators, I run into this all this time here. There are thousands of guys between the 4 services and SOF that can fucking shoot and do CQB. Okay. There are hundreds of guys that can do it at the world-class level. It's just there. If you can't be personable, fucking, speak with authority, engage people, make relationships, and network, you're fucking useless. I get more people calling me wanting a job here, and I'm like, well, what do you do? Well, I'm the world's greatest shooter. I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, I've got 10 of those,
Yeah.
and I can call them up and I'll send them a gun from one of our partners and they'll do it for free. I don't need to pay them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's, but no, networking is gold. And that is honestly what has post-retirement from active duty, why I had the job I had with the Navy guys, why I have this job here, is you build a network. And the network, here's the piece of gold, guys, and guys don't understand this. The network does not mean that every time you call somebody, you're asking for something. The network means you call somebody and you're doing a buddy check, a health check, a how are you? Do you need anything? Fucking just checking in, And then when you do need something, that's not the fucking cold call that this is the last time this person's heard from you. That's not networking. Hey, I know Bruno can get me into the Patriots game. I haven't spoke to him in 4 fucking years. I'm going to get Patriots tickets. Ask anybody that did that to me how that call went. You know what I mean?
Work out.
It didn't work out, man.
Yeah.
It was like, who are you? You want what? Fuck off, man.
Yeah.
But my point being is like anybody that had 3 months before been like, hey, bro, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Hey, man, my brother is the world's biggest patriot. Let me see what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this works. Let me see what I can do.
Yeah.
And then, oh, by the way, what are you doing nowadays? What can you do for me?
Yeah. Well, that and pay, and I tell everybody to pay it forward, because I do get like, and I'm grateful for it, but not a single week passes where I usually don't have about 3 to 4 text messages of, hey, I need help.
Yep.
Or, hey, I'm looking for a job and I don't know what to do with my life, or a business or a charity that has a cause. I get those constantly, and I tell everybody just pay it forward.
I do, and I do it as much as I can. The problem we have right now in our community is there is a fucking tidal wave of guys creating non-profs.
You're about to send me on a tangent here.
No, like literally, I know you know this, especially in your position, but I get hit weekly by 3 or 4 guys that have a non-prof, and number one is a business. we only have so much to
Hmm.
we only have so much to give. Number two, like, are you is your nonprofit really a nonprofit or is it for profit? And
Hmm.
what's the mission and what's the established, what have you done here? And oh, by the way, if you've looked, we already have a nonprofit that's doing that. Why, like, give you a real clean example. We work with the Special Forces Foundation. We work with the frickin' Navy SEAL Future Foundation. You guys have a very similar mission.
Hmm.
You guys are actually aligned. I connected you guys,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
guys are actually doing great stuff together. You just
Hmm.
did something at SHOT Show together last year. That's what it's all about, and that's something that I hope that I can continue to do is like, look, hey, I might not be able to write you a check, but I know how I could benefit you.
And sometimes that's more beneficial than the
Yes.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, and the cat's out of the bag. I've preached to this to the choir so many times, and as a Green Beret, I would love to see the Green Beret focused nonprofits, at least at a minimum, more closely aligned, maybe as some type of umbrella thing that works together. Because there just becomes too much. And for profit, because now I'm on the other side of the spectrum. So at the Special Forces Foundation, I was the guy who was making the calls, building relationships with potential donors, and say, "Hey, come and help us with our mission." At Black Rifle, I'm the opposite.
You're the guy getting
I'm
the
the guy
call.
that's getting the
That's
call.
right. Same.
And so in a not in a dick way, but I have a lot of nonprofits that call me, and the first thing they say is they're different. And I can tell them I've had 6 calls with nonprofits that almost have an identical mission statement that you just
Yep.
told me. And it's one of those, like, at the end of the day, what's better for the people that we're helping? And I am always going to be an advocate of working together. And so, like, for the Special Forces Foundation, we built a phenomenal relationship with the Special Forces Trust, because at the time, I didn't want to reinvent the curve. I was like, if you guys are already doing that, if I get that request, I'll push it over to you. And something you're not doing, you can send that, service
Right.
member over to me, and that's how we can work together to get this done. It saves money, resources, you name it. But I would love to see that, if I was the king of the SF philanthropy world one day, I would. And some people would argue, and it's not a bad argument, well, then you're kind of monopolizing the system. Well, you got one stop shop, and if they say no, you're done. And I would argue with that, because there's so many that even if you combined a bunch of them together, you would still have multiple.
Yeah. There's a lot out there. There's no doubt about it. And I'm finding myself saying no a lot, but I usually take the call, take the email, listen, and I'm like, is there something I can help them with and steer them in the right direction? The other thing I always tell everybody straight up, and this is for anybody that's soliciting a business, if you're starting your calls to a business in August and September, I'm going to tell you, marketing money, foundation money, it's spent, guys.
Mm.
Like if you're on the ball and you're trying to get somebody like me to write you a check, you should be engaging me now for 2026. Because what I do is I set my fiscal year, I set my budget, I set what charities I'm going to deal with, and then everything after that is yeah, I'll see what I can do,
Yeah.
because I'm locked in and I'm on a fucking budget. So there's a big statement I have here, and I'm actually putting it in emails right now with people calling me up with, well, when do you need it? I need it Monday. Your emergency is not my emergency.
Yeah.
Like your emergency is not my emergency. I'm sorry, this is not how we operate as a business. So even though we are doing business together, the fact that you didn't have the forethought to think this through tells me you're not ready.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I tell everybody, I'm at a minimum at Black Rifle, I'm always in a quarter ahead.
yes,
So at least a quarter ahead. So if and we do have some great opportunities that and I'm one of those guys, probably to a default, that I will shake and I will spend some restless nights to make it happen if it's something that is truly a great cause.
agreed.
Like, what is it that came across not too long ago? I can't remember the off the top of my head, but they're doing the Sante Raiders reunion out at Fort Benning, but but they're like, hey, can we do a brainstorming session? I was like, your event's in 27 days. That's gone.
Yeah.
I was like, brainstorming is like, that's
No.
an afterthought now. Like,
Yeah.
I'll do my best.
You're an emergency assault plan right now.
I mean, but like, the Sante, those Raiders, I mean, those are, people have Superman as their hero. Those were my heroes.
Absolutely.
So like, I'm like, well, I'll move the world. So that's what we're trying to do now with Black Rifle. But and they were very receptive. They're great people. But I was just like, man, I wish you would have came like 6 months. I would have thrown the kitchen sink at this
No,
thing. But
and again, hopefully people hear that and listen. But like we're something I'm doing right now is a little bit out of the box too. So we have an NGO that we're supporting called Operation Guardian, and it's the first one of its kind, and they're providing military style surveillance reconnaissance capability for federal pedophile arrests. And these guys just last week wrapped up 10 highly sought after pedophiles in one operation. And they're using sanctioned military aircraft with sensors like we used overseas. And they're having ground operators advise the guys on how to do surveillance the proper way. And they're lining these people up with bait and fucking taking them down. And I'm telling you, it is something to be seen, because that is someone that can't protect themselves. These children can't protect themselves from what's going on with online and all that stuff. So they came to me with that, and it was essentially about a dozen former special operators that had formed this nonprofit and lined up with law enforcement. And we got involved with them. And since then, not only do they have the aircraft thing, they have a sanctioned military free fall capability for surveillance where they go in. So it's pretty amazing that their track record already and how much traction it's getting. So things like that, in addition to the charities and foundations that we're getting involved with, but they hit me with that one, and I'm like, oh hell yeah, we're in. And it's interesting because they're producing results.
yeah, we do something similar with the Skull Games.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a newly built relationship, but one of my old commanders, Mike Rose, and his wife was really into it, and so I've always kind of just tracked it on the social media. But it's more, it's not as much DAs, it's all OSINT. So they help provide law enforcement. They do all the OSINT stuff behind it.
Nice.
And basically, I mean, you've seen how freaky that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
is. So it's just like, yeah, Bruno goes to the bathroom at 11:03 every morning. That's how detailed they get behind it. So it's been amazing. But I would say for a lot of the listeners who, where my mind is I really try to tackle some of the most, like profound issues that are affecting our community. So whether that's the mental health one, which that's a whole package,
Suicide, mental health,
so much behind that, food insecurity is huge. Like I don't think people understand how much that's affecting from either a homeless standpoint or like a lower enlisted who just can't afford groceries as well as they should be able to. Obviously, homelessness is always a big one. So trying to affect those ones. Legacy preservation is big to me. I love the idea of honoring those who've come before and not forgetting about that. And so just, a few of those, like we talked about earlier, medical debt, that one's huge. And like cancer, cancer screening and prevention. Cancer is eating away at our veteran communities quickly.
Yep.
And
No, and I'll tell you to double tap on that. We're involved with quite a few engagements. One of the biggest things is operator syndrome is real. Blast injury, environmental injury, things of that nature. I mean, having a 40-year-old with a 80-year-old's testosterone levels and hormone balance. So we're involved in quite a bit of that. Things like Warrior Health and a few others that are out there, but we're on the same page. I really like targeting what can help our veterans that are not being taken care of. Bear is actually flying up to DC on Wednesday, is meeting with 8 senators and the director of the VA. And this is all targeting the medical debt and some of the stuff that we're doing, but we're trying to find a way to, number one, get these veterans to not lose everything they have, because we know with big pharma and everything else what some of this medical debt is. And then, so we're targeting things like that. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if it's helping first responder, law enforcement, or a veteran, we're pretty much in. As long as you can prove to us that, number one, what you're doing is sound, and number two, just like you said, we're not already committed to a cause doing that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that and vetting, because I mean, you alluded to it earlier. It's just that's the nature of the business. And once again, for the listeners, like I do my research. You know, if you're coming to me wanting money to support a cause, I will go through 990.
oh yeah,
I will personally, I speak to every single leader of every single organization. You know, I go through and I ask hard questions. Like, what are you doing? Like, what's your metrics look like? You have testimony, all that. I collect it all because not all nonprofits are built the same. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And I try to be as objective as I can, and kind of eliminate some, personal maybe conflicts behind it that I may have, which I don't really feel like I have any. If you're helping veterans or first responders, I'm usually in try to support as best as we can. But it's one of those things that if you're not but if I see that your charts, because what's the industry standards about what 90-10, so 90% of all the money coming into a nonprofit goes back out to support the community they serve. And then 10% is for overhead because you got to spend money to fundraise
that's
and
right.
travel and
That's
all
right.
that. And that's understandable. But if only 10% of everything you're taking in is going back out, or excuse me, if only 10% is going back out to the communities you support, that's a bit of an anomaly and a red flag to me. And I
Oh
will call
yeah.
you out and have you explain exactly why that is. If it's not a very good explanation to why that is, then we're usually out.
No, it's a good place to be. So let me ask you this: you're in that position, you're retired, spend a little bit more time with your kids and stuff like that. Bucket list items. You got anything out there? You got anything cool that like the big elk hunt or the freaking hump the Appalachians? What's out there that's in your list that maybe you want to go attack here in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I want my ranch.
Where?
I don't care. I just no, I mean, I've been really eyeballing Montana. I like Montana. I like up there. I just, like I'm a very simple person. And I just nothing I feel like would give me more happiness if I can just walk out and I can see my ranch. I can have a few horses. I'm not asking for a lot. I'm not asking for this ginormous Yellowstone thing or anything like that. Just, my plot of land with my horses. And I quite frankly, I think that's really all I need. And as long as my kids are successful, I mean, that's kind of like my milestones are going to be watching them grow as adults and seeing what they accomplish, and then trying to help them out. But I don't know. I wish, maybe I need to be a little more ambitious. But special forces allowed me to do a lot of really cool things that I would have never been able to afford or hell even known about. So I got a lot of the cool guy stuff out of the way. Now what I really want to focus on is just kind of planting my flag at my little ranch where I can call home, and then doing my best to support my kids, to ensure that they're successful. And I know the old lady will love it too.
I love it, man. I love it. And you're exactly right. When I left after all my years, I had no bucket list, but I will tell you shit pops up.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when Ed Byers called and said, "Hey, I'm putting a team together. You want to go jump in Normandy on the anniversary?" He wouldn't even done. I'm like, "Oh fuck yes!"
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
I already booked the ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, stuff like that. And be honest with you, it had nothing to do with the jumping in Normandy. It had everything to do with being with those veterans.
Mhm.
Like to me, that's the greatest generation that's ever lived. And just to be around the ones that were still, I was talking to guys 105 years old, man, and he was cognitive and he was cool. And he's like, "Let's go smoke a cigar, Bruno." I'm like, 105?
Yeah.
Dude.
It just shows you like we're all cut from the same cloth too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're doing something similar. I'm really excited about it. Every year, Black Rifle, we do the salute the service game out the Dallas Cowboys, and we partner with Beyond the Call. And so we bring out 10 World War II veterans and bring them out to the center and star during the game to honor them during the salute the service game. And you want to talk about like a powerful moment. I've always watched it and I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. But I get to be there this year.
That's awesome.
So I can't tell you. So when you talk about like bucket list stuff, that's going to be, standing in, I don't know,
You'll never
that
forget that.
60,000 people, but but it's just one of those, like, just being around those guys and being able to do that is just going to be
Yeah,
like, I'm so excited. I told them, I was like, I'll get the damn bus. I'll drive them around. I'll be like, what do you guys want to do, man? We'll hit up the titty bar if you guys want, whatever, dude. Like, I'll just sit there and just make sure they have the time of their lives, and try to give back.
No, that was awesome. When we did the Normandy thing, we were over there jumping and we were working our ass off, because it was a really weird thing. Like, we had to drive an hour to get the aircraft to jump, then drive another hour and a half the other direction to get to the aircraft. Because obviously the drop zones weren't co-located with the airfields for the 130s and the C-47s. But Bear went over with the Best Defense Foundation, and he spent basically the whole week pushing them around in wheelchairs, helping them, escorting them. And I mean, what an experience he had doing that too. So you just spending time with him, and I mean, kind of cool, right?
Well,
I mean,
that, and the sad fact is, like, we don't have them.
no, we don't. Matter of fact, that was DOD quietly like doubled the normal money of the not this year, the one last year, the 85th, because they realized that at the youngest guy there, the youngest D-Day veteran there was 99. And they realized that there's not going to be a 90. You know what I mean? So, so it was one of those, I mean, there will be, but what will be there, right? Who will be able to travel? So they went all out this year. And that's why it was a huge calling to let's go. And we did everything we could to be ambassadors to them. That was what the mission was to spend as much time and to do stuff with them. And man, it was just sitting there and talking to them, and fuck, I'll never forget it, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's going to be.
So no other bucket list items.
Yeah. So those are it. So those, like, I mean, it's one of those, it's definitely an opportunity more than something that I have planned out, but yeah, I don't know if I'm a bucket list kind of guy.
Like I said, things will pop up, and you realize afterwards that was a bucket list item.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how that was to me. It's like I had none when I got done. I did have one, and I did it. I wanted to go on this elk hunt, and I did it. But that was it. That was the only thing, right? So another shift in questions before we close out here. What do you got brewing there at Black Rifle that you can talk about? That's going to be super cool. That's coming, because you guys do some really cool shit.
Oh, so much stuff. Well, I mean, just off the top of my head, and we already talked about, is Vets Week.
Yep.
I'm extremely excited about that one. We started a breast cancer initiative, so that'll launch. What's the date? On the 8th.
Yep.
So you'll see that. I wanted to do something to give back to female veterans, because dudes get a lot of the love, so I wanted to do something that was a little more, female specific. So we did something for that. So you'll see that come out here soon. And then obviously Rise and Grind in the Salute to Service game in November, which is going to be huge. We'll also be out there at NPR and Cowboys Christmas. And then we're also partnering with the Boot campaign here in December to give back to kids. It's kind of like a Toys for Tots thing. So we're going to do that, and do something like it's, I like to do things for the kiddos, but Boot campaign's been awesome for Black Rifle Coffee. So we're going to partner with them to do that. And then we start to move into, 2026, and that's America's. Yeah. We'll be out in full force at SHOT Show again.
Nice.
Yeah. We have our own booth out there this year. And then we're really hammering down on America's birthday. So you'll see Black Rifle, our marketing campaign and everything we will do will be a lot to how do we complement and support and celebrate 250th birthday. Awesome. I mean, it's got Black Rifle written all over it.
Yep,
so
sure
I'm sure BP's all over it too. But so there's a lot of really big things coming in, and we have a lot of smaller things too, like that I just, they're not huge, like you said earlier, like they're not meant to be marketing campaigns or anything like that. But, this organization called Resilience Racing came to me and said, hey, we build, these really fast cars that we race at speedways and everything, but we build them for adaptive veteran athletes. So if they're missing 2 legs and an arm, we make the vehicle so they can still drive it. And I was like, that.
Pretty wild.
I was like, you got my attention. So like just small things like that, just to be able to help, 10 veterans go out whose dream is to be able to drive like a NASCAR equivalent. I'm like, I'm, and I'm not a big motor guy or motorsports dude, but I'm just like, it sounds amazing to me. And that's something that I will try, even though it just so yeah, so many initiatives that quite frankly, sometimes it becomes a little overwhelming, but I love it so much that I put a lot of
It'll
bandwidth
keep you
behind it.
going, man. You gotta, if you find yourself looking at ceiling tiles, you're not in the right place. How's
Yeah.
that? So
Well, yeah, and I love the idea when I wake up, like I'm excited to get stuff done. So I feel very grateful and humble to be put in a position I'm in now because I truly do love uh yeah, just to see the look on people's faces. We do, and
awesome.
like any some big, some small. Like here at the end of the month, we'll be out at the Marine Corps Marathon, helping Simplify America's Fund, which you haven't heard of that nonprofit, is an amazing nonprofit
Right.
that I've called numerous times on, hey, I have this person that needs a lot of help and support, and they throw everything at it. And I'm just like, and it's like, those are where I leverage a lot of the relationships because what we do is, we support their events and everything and partner with them. But where really the magic happens is when I build these close relationships with these organizations and I say, hey, I got this guy, Bruno.
Need him help.
And
Need
I
help.
need I need to get him helped out. He's suffering from whatever it is, alcoholism, and we just got to get him to the right place. Like they just come in with and they're like, we got it.
That's awesome.
Or I'll get the response back is just like, hey man, we can't help. Those are times where I'm just like, well, I mean, it's literally, I know your organization and everything you said you do, this fits,
Right.
and sometimes,
Well, there's a thing called karma.
yeah,
They're going to be calling you.
yeah,
Like just don't forget that they're going to be calling you and saying, hey, we need your help. And be like, hey, man,
yeah,
remember that call?
yeah,
So,
because it's never for me; it's for somebody else.
that's
And
right. What
I
comes
take
around
it
goes
very
around, though.
seriously when
Yeah.
they say, we can't help out, but I can't say enough good things about the nonprofits that we partner with.
Well, the fact that Black Rifle has a position that you're in to do the vetting, the analysis, and actually, you know, guide them on this is huge because I can tell you, like in this brand, it comes into one of the executives, and if it's in my lane, Bear lanes, Claire, Tony, it comes into our lane and we action it. We
Mhm.
don't have a position like you where we can filter it down to. So that just tells me that, you guys are at the level where you're doing so much of it that it's become a full-time position. They put the right guy in it, which I think is good because the biggest thing that I think the reason you're the right guy is you used to be on the other side of it, going and looking to get people to come into the charity and things. So anyhow, man, I love
And
it.
it's so important. I mean, it's just every time we have an all call meeting or anything like that, the first thing is I'm usually put on the spot. First thing everybody, all the way from board to all the executives, first thing they want to know is, hey, what are we doing to support everything? And then I run them through the Rolodex of, hey, where we're supporting here, we're doing here. I'll play them live testimonies that a lot of them send us, you can just see everybody just spark in the room on just like that's what the fuck I'm talking about.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you're a sales rep. What you're doing by helping us sales product is only, adding to the purse in which we can help support others. So it's a collective effort. No matter
Uh-huh.
if you're on the X or if you're the person in the background supporting, it's just built into the nexus of Black Rifle. As long as we continue to do that, I'll always stay there as long as
Oh yeah, man, you'll be doing it when you're old like me.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah, I'm trying
Um,
to.
all right, brother. Any fucking closing thoughts for anybody listening? Anything, any mentorship you can pass on anybody listening? Pearls of wisdom.
I used to like to say all the time, control what you can control and don't focus on the things you can, like what's that Landman? You ever seen Landman? I believe it was Landman. There's a really good scene in there where the guy's in a board meeting and they're talking about all kinds of shit, and he finally tells everybody, shut the fuck up. He's like, I don't give a shit about how clean engines run because I don't build fucking engines. And some people really, what me being somebody who tries to mentor people, too often we let so many distractions eat us up. We're worried about things in Indonesia and shit. And I'm just like, look, you got like 80 things going on in your brain. Bruno needs help. I don't care if it's not the 100% thing, but if we don't get him help in 30 days, something bad may happen. So we got to get this going. And I see too many people who get lost into the social media thing on, well, this person may think this and this may say. I'm just like, man, just
White noise. White fucking noise.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's
noise.
a good way to explain it.
Ultimately, I hate to say it, but television, the news, social media is white noise.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately it is, right? I mean, because first of all, they target the message they want you to hear, which may not be the actual message. So, I mean, obviously there's some great shit on social media.
There is. There's a purpose, and there's a purpose,
but you have to be able to filter. That's why, I mean, if you don't know this, if you're building a product, you got about 3 seconds to hit your audience.
yeah. Or I'm off next.
Yeah, next.
Yeah, it's like Tinder up in this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but yeah,
no,
don't let those distractions, those naysayers eat you up. You know, fucking be you, be authentic. And then the last thing I'll say is be transparent. Too many people try to cloud too many things. And if you don't think others can't start to see through it, they'll feel it. They may not know, but their intuition will be like, there's something weird. And so be transparent, especially with your business partners, you know, which I know that I've tried absolute with
100%.
Like good, bad, or indifferent. I'm going to tell you how it is. And you'll gain a lot of respect from that. You know, like if I call Bear and I'm like, hey, we fucked this up or whatever, he'll respect that more than me trying to hide the truth. As an example.
100%, man. And I love the transparency. You know, what do they say? Wear your rank on your sleeves. And that goes miles. And not every phone call needs to be a good phone call.
No, I appreciated the ones that weren't more.
Yeah, man.
You know, like, don't get me wrong. I love when somebody says, hey, great job, Dean. But I really do love when somebody calls me and says, hey, did you know that this, and this, you're kind of messing all that shit up. I'm like, I had no idea. But then I fixed that shit. And I appreciated him calling and correcting me and saying, hey, you're.
Don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
All right, brother. Well, we got something for you here because you coming from military culture. I can't have a podcast without having my own coin. So, my brother, here's one to add to your collection.
Thank you, bro.
It was absolutely a pleasure having you on here. I love, first of all, Dean the man, and then what you're bringing with Black Rifles, pretty fucking phenomenal right now. And the two brands working together. Glad we're able to finally get you out here tonight. Dean and I are going to go to Brazilian Steakhouse and get the meat sweats and talk some business between the two brands. But brother, any final remarks?
Oh, I just thank you so much for having me.
All right, brother.
I'm truly appreciative.
Me too. And we're going to continue this friendship over some steak tonight. All right, everybody, thank you for tuning into the Hot Wash with Born Primitive Tactical. And we'll see you next time. Dean Goble, glad to have you, brother. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Hot Wash by Born Primitive Tactical. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow us at Born Primitive Tactical. I'll see you next time.